November 24th, 1971. A cold, rainy evening in the Pacific Northwest. A man walks into Portland International Airport, buys a one-way ticket, and boards Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 bound for Seattle. He's wearing a black suit, a white shirt, a black tie, and a pair of dark sunglasses. He looks like any other businessman traveling for work. But this man is no ordinary passenger. By the end of the night, he will become one of the most infamous figures in American history, a man known only as D.B. Cooper. What follows is a story of mystery, intrigue, and a daring escape that has baffled investigators for over 5 decades. This is the mystery of D.B. Cooper. Flight 305 was a short 30-minute hop from Portland to Seattle. There were only 36 passengers on board, along with 6 crew members. The man who would later be identified as D.B. Cooper took his seat in the rear of the plane, seat 18C. He ordered a bourbon and soda, lit a cigarette, and waited for the plane to take off. But shortly after the flight was airborne, Cooper handed a note to a flight attendant, Florence Schaffner. At first, she thought it was a phone number, maybe a flirtatious gesture, but when she glanced at the note, her blood ran cold. Cooper calmly opened his briefcase, revealing a mass of wires and red sticks that appeared to be dynamite. He instructed Schaffner to relay his demands to the cockpit. $200,000 in cash, $200,000 in cash, equivalent to over $1.3 million today, and 4 parachutes. And he had one more demand. The plane needed to be refueled and prepared for takeoff once they landed in Seattle. The crew had no choice but to comply. Once the plane landed in Seattle, Cooper allowed the passengers to be released in exchange for the money and parachutes. But he kept the crew on board, along with a few select flight attendants. The FBI scrambled to gather the ransom money, $200,000 in 20 bills, all of which were carefully photographed and recorded for tracking purposes. The parachutes were also provided, as requested. But here's where things get interesting. Cooper didn't just ask for any parachutes. He specifically requested 4, 2 primary chutes and 2 reserve chutes. This detail would later become a key piece of the puzzle. With the money and parachutes on board, Cooper ordered the plane to take off again, this time heading south toward Mexico. But he had no intention of making it that far. As the plane ascended to 10,000 feet, Cooper instructed the crew to stay in the cockpit and not to disturb him. He then lowered the rear staircase of the Boeing 727, and, somewhere over the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, he jumped into the night. The plane landed safely in Reno, Nevada, but Cooper was nowhere to be found. The FBI launched one of the largest manhunts in history, scouring the rugged terrain of the Pacific Northwest for any sign of the hijacker. But despite their efforts, Cooper had vanished without a trace. The investigation into D.B. Cooper's identity and whereabouts would become one of the most extensive in FBI history. Over the years, countless leads were pursued, but none yielded a definitive answer. The $200,000 ransom was never fully recovered, and Cooper's true identity remains a mystery to this day. But that hasn't stopped amateur sleuths and professional investigators alike from trying to crack the case. Over the years, numerous suspects have been proposed, but none have been conclusively proven to be D.B. Cooper. One of the most compelling suspects was Richard McCoy, a former Army paratrooper who pulled off a similar hijacking just 5 months after Cooper's heist. McCoy was eventually caught and imprisoned, but he always denied being Cooper. Another suspect was Kenneth Christensen, a former Northwest Orient employee who had the skills and knowledge to pull off the hijacking. And then there's Ted Braden, a former Green Beret with a history of daring escapades. But despite the intriguing connections, none of these men were ever definitively linked to the crime. One of the most tantalizing pieces of evidence in the case is the ransom money itself. In 1980, a young boy named Brian Ingram found a bundle of decaying $20 bills along the banks of the Columbia River. The serial numbers matched those of the ransom money, but how the money got there remains a mystery. Some believe it was washed downstream from where Cooper landed, while others think it was planted as a red herring. Another key piece of evidence is Cooper's tie, which he left on the plane. In 2011, investigators discovered traces of titanium and other rare elements on the tie, suggesting that Cooper may have worked in the aerospace or chemical industry. But even this clue hasn't led to a breakthrough. Over the years, countless theories have emerged about what happened to D.B. Cooper. Some believe he died during the jump, his body lost in the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest. Others think he survived and lived out the rest of his life in anonymity, perhaps even using the ransom money to start a new life. There are even those who believe Cooper was a government operative or a professional skydiver who planned the hijacking as the ultimate thrill. But without concrete evidence, these theories remain just that, theories. The mystery of D.B. Cooper has captivated the public's imagination for over 5 decades. Books, documentaries, and even movies have been made about the case, each offering its own take on what might have happened. Cooper's daring escape has become the stuff of legend, inspiring countless copycats and cementing his place in American folklore. But despite the countless hours of investigation and the endless speculation, the truth remains elusive. Today, the mystery of D.B. Cooper endures as one of the greatest unsolved crimes in history. Every few years, a new lead emerges, reigniting interest in the case. But for now, the questions remain. Who was D.B. Cooper? Did he survive the jump? And if so, what happened to him? The answers may never be known, but one thing is certain. The legend of D.B. Cooper will continue to fascinate and intrigue for generations to come. In the end, D.B. Cooper's story is more than just a tale of crime and mystery. It's a reminder of the enduring power of the unknown, and the lengths to which people will go to uncover the truth. Whether he was a criminal mastermind, a desperate man, or something else entirely, D.B. Cooper's legacy lives on. A ghost in the shadows, a name whispered in the wind, and a mystery that may never be solved.